Are you in a relationship where you're the only one who is doing the work to keep the relationship going, where you feel bad most of the time? Then you might be in a toxic relationship. If you'd like to learn more about the signs of toxic relationships, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dr. Loren Josephs. Welcome to my channel, Dr. LJ Speaks Life, where my goal is to empower women and girls to improve their self-image, build self-confidence, and eliminate the barriers that are preventing them from being successful. One of the ways that we do that is by talking about healthy relationships, how to develop and maintain healthy relationships. When I talk about healthy relationships, I mean not only relationships with significant others or intimate relationships. I'm also talking about relationships with close friends and professional relationships. So individuals you have to connect with in the workplace. One of the biggest challenges that many women face is being in a toxic relationship. The fact is that some people know that their relationships aren't healthy, that the relationships are toxic, but the mind is trying to catch up to what the heart already knows. So what I aim to do here today is to share with you some signs of toxic relationships. So you can do a self-assessment. You can do a relationship check to see where you are and what the next steps need to be. So the first thing to look out for to determine if you're in a toxic relationship is, how do you feel in the relationship? How do you feel when you are in the presence of this person who you have to spend time with, a loved one, a peer, or a professional partner? How do you feel? If you are in a relationship where it feels bad all the time, the relationship may be toxic. Healthy relationships don't hurt. They don't cause prolonged emotional hurt, and they never cause physical hurt. And so if you're in a relationship where you are wondering why you're there, chances are you should not be there. And the second thing to be mindful of is, are you feeling drained? Does it take every modicum of energy that you have to keep moving forward with any type of interactions with this individual? If so, you might be in a toxic relationship. The third thing, if you have no trust, if you don't trust this person, or if they don't trust you, and so because of this lack of trust, you are having to walk around on eggshells, or explain the smallest thing that you're doing, that's problematic. Relationships cannot last without trust. You'll end up spending 3/4 of your life having to justify the smallest thing. So if you have a relationship where there's no trust, it might be a toxic relationship. Another thing to be mindful of is, how do you feel in the environment where you share space with this person? I have to tell you a story, because you might be in a toxic relationship if you have to enter a hostile environment day after day. And I have a story about that. It had to do with a professional workspace where my morning started like this. My morning started fine. I'm feeling good. And the closer I get to my job, the worse I begin to feel. And I would drive to work, sit in the parking lot for no less than 15 minutes to build up my will, to fortify myself, to enter a space which was just a horrible environment to work. And these were all well-educated people, seemingly intelligent people, but they were just really horrible to be around. And so if you are feeling like you have to, boost yourself up to go into a space where you live or where you work or where you play, then you might be in a toxic relationship. That is so draining to enter a hostile environment day after day. And especially if this hostile environment is home. If you have to drive around the block a couple of times before you pull up to your house, then you might be in a toxic relationship. Another cue is who's putting in the effort, who's doing the work. A relationship, whatever the type of relationship, a relationship with a friend, a relationship with an intimate partner, or a relationship with a team member at work, requires everyone to hold their own, everyone to contribute. Now, certainly we have different skills. So we might be contributing different things to the relationship. But it shouldn't be that one person is left holding the responsibility for keeping this thing afloat. So if you are in a relationship where you're the only one doing the work, this work might be financial, you're the one paying all the bills or worrying about how to earn additional dollars to ensure the bills are being paid on time, and you are the only one doing the emotional work, you're the only one emotionally invested, you're the only one taking care of the children if there are children involved, you're the only one doing all the work. There is no effort or no concern on your friends or partner's part, then you might be in a toxic relationship. In any relationship, in any setting, there has to be an understanding of the division of labor. It cannot be one person trying to uphold a system. If that is the case, then you might be in a toxic relationship. Another thing that is a clear cue that you might be in a toxic relationship is if there is constant negativity. There's nothing ever positive going on. There's nothing ever positive being said. If you share something that is bringing you joy or something that you're proud of, then there's still negativity. You feel like you're always being brought down. You know, there's just nothing good ever going on. If you're ever in a space with someone like that, then you understand how difficult that is, because it's like, wow, how is it that nothing can be right? Nothing can be positive. Nothing is helpful. Nothing is a positive force. And so if you're in a place where you're negative, or your partner is negative, then the environment might be toxic. You know, and one of the things that I need to say as well as I share these cues, these identifiers of toxic relationships, not only assess whether or not your partner or your friend or your professional team member is exhibiting these behaviors or causing the space to be toxic, but you have to really look to see whether or not you are the one who's injecting toxicity into the environment. Because sometimes we're really good at pointing the fingers at somebody else, but we're not really good at self-reflection and accepting responsibility for where we are the one who is destroying a system. Another thing to be mindful of in the context of a relationship is if you feel like your partner is undermining you. What you are trying to build up, they're trying to pull down. If you feel like you're in a situation where you're hesitant to share your good news with someone because you don't know how they might feel about it, then you might be in a toxic relationship. Because if you're in a healthy relationship, the first person you want to share that good news with is with your partner or is with your best friend, with someone with whom you are in a positive relationship with. But if you have someone in your life who you are afraid Think about that now. Something good has happened to you, and you are questioning whether or not you need to share that good news with someone in your life. That's a good sign that you might be in a toxic relationship. Some other things to consider, and this is a key one for me in the work that I have done with women and girls. Are you afraid to say no? Do you change your opinions to meet the expectation of others because you don't want to say no? You might be in a toxic relationship. No is a complete sentence. It's no, full stop. Not a comma, not a question mark. No, full stop. No, period. It needs no qualifiers. It needs no explanatory phrases following. No. Now, certainly you're in a relationship with someone. You care about that person. You may say, no, I don't feel like doing that now because. But in reality, there really is no requirement that that be done. Because if there's mutual respect, no is all there need to be. Nah, I don't feel like it. You know? So if you are in a situation where you can't say no, or where your no is not respected, then you may be in a toxic relationship. Another thing is the scorecard. Oh my God. Have you ever been in a situation where everything that has been done for you is recounted? Meaning that them take it tell you, as we say in Jamaica. Everything them do for you, them come and take it tell you. And usually it's in the context of a disagreement. Then they want to recount. They want to pull out the ledger. Because guess what? They're keeping track. They're keeping score of everything that they have ever done for you since the devil was a boy. Right? So that's a donkey years ago. They have to take it and to remind you about it. That's problematic, because in healthy relationships, there is a desire to be of support to others. There's a desire to share. There's a desire to give, and without the expectation of return. So if you're in a situation where your partner or your friend has to remind you constantly of what it is that they have done for you, and that you wouldn't have X, Y, Z, A, B, or C had it not been for them, then you may be in a toxic relationship. Another biggie is emotional support. So have you ever been in a situation? I used to know this guy some years ago, and boy, look here, this guy, all he ever wanted to do was talk about himself. Talk about himself. Talk about all the wonderful things that happened to him, all the things that he intended to do, all the things he enjoyed, all the things he liked. But when I opened my mouth, because I have ideas, I have thoughts too, I have emotions and feelings, he was never really that interested, right? And he just was not that really supportive person who you need in your life. So needless to say, that didn't work out. But the fact is that there are many of us out here who are the ones who have to pour into others, who have to be the strong partner, the emotionally supportive partner, who has to be the one who's happy for the other person, who has the one to be the one who shares in their joys. But let you need something. Let you be stuck somewhere. Let you ask for a favor, no matter how small. And it's 5,000,001 excuses about why they can't be there for you. Or worse, they're unreliable. They'll commit to doing something and leave you stranded. if this is your experience, then you may be in a toxic relationship. If you're in a relationship with somebody who's competitive, I mean, competitive to the point of, Lord, man, just it's all right. Just you win, you win, you win, right? If you just have to throw your hands up and not be bothered with this person because it's always a war. Both of you are fighting, jockeying for position, right? If somebody is, if I'm suffering, they're suffering more, right? If I'm winning, they're winning more. It doesn't matter what it is. There's this competitive, negative spirit that is in place. And if that is the case, you know what, people, ladies, you have to think about that, because in the context of a relationship, there needs to be shared energy and a decision to move towards like goals, right? Goals that you develop together, things that you are both interested in, and movement. The energy should be focused there, and not trying to go on and on about who is better than whom and things like that. So if you're in a relationship with somebody who's really competitive, and it doesn't matter if you are destroyed in that competition, then you may be in a toxic relationship. Same thing with having a passive aggressive partner. These are some of the most they can do some of the most insidious things, and it's always in the guise of it being done in your interest, right? So both of you get invited to a party, and you're excited to go to the party because it's mutual friends, but he doesn't really want you to go, right? Because for whatever reason, he doesn't want you there. So instead of saying, you know what, I think it might be a good idea if I go by myself, and like adults, right, in this situation, you talk it through and say, no, I would really like to go as well, and this and that, and then share differing viewpoints. No, this person is going to come to you and say, you know what, I know you've been working hard all week, so you and you're tired, so you probably want to get some rest, because it's probably not going to be a good scene anyway, so you're probably right in wanting to stay home. You never tell the man nothing about want to stay home, but he's being passive aggressive, right? And those of us in relationships with women in relationships with women, passive aggressive behavior happens there too. So it's just really important to be mindful. If somebody is trying to lead you down a certain path that you had no intent to go, be really careful, because that relationship may be toxic. I could go on and on and on with this list of cues, but it is my feeling that as women, we are intuitive. As girls, we are intuitive. We know what is good for us. But sometimes there's other things at play. We're afraid of being alone. We're afraid of being the outsider. Fears keep us in situations that we have no business being in. And so if it requires sometimes a lot of strength and energy to extract ourselves from these situations that we don't want to be in. And I'm not talking about situations where there's violence, because that requires a whole host of other things to be put into place for someone who has a physically abusive partner to escape, in essence, without harm. Because at the point where a person who is being physically abused leaves the relationship, it's the most dangerous point in time. So when I talk about needing to remove yourself from these situations, I do that. I'm having this conversation not related to women who have relationships where there's physical violence. I'll do another video to address what needs to be done in those instances. There are a whole host of other things to be mindful of when assessing whether or not your relationship is toxic. Look at whether or not you want to be in that person's presence. Are you mutually avoiding each other? right? You come home, one person gone east, one person gone west, right? You just try to do whatever you can. You work late, you take overtime, you do whatever it is that you need to do. You go to church 5 days a week, you know, because some people in church are in toxic relationships too, right? And so doesn't matter who you are. If you have a partner who you don't want to be around, you have to ask yourself why, right? If you have a partner that is envious of your success, you have to ask yourself, is this the place for me? If you are in a situation, listen to me, ladies, where you feel like you have had to lower your standards, then you might be in a toxic relationship, because good relationships elevate, right? They don't depress, they don't demean, and they don't destroy. So if you are in a situation where you have had to lower your standards, right? You have had to question, how did I get in this space, where you start not recognizing yourself, then you may be in a toxic relationship. A relationship that brings out your worst is toxic. A relationship that makes you uncertain is toxic. A relationship that makes you question yourself, right? You feel like you can't make a decision. That relationship may be toxic. A relationship where there is persistent self-betrayal. What I mean by that is that you are betraying yourself in the actions that you take and the decisions that you are make, because you have chosen not to act in your own self-interest because of all the factors that are going on in your relationship. That relationship may be toxic. And the fact is that if you know that your relationship is toxic, it is your responsibility to do what is necessary to remove yourself from that relationship. If you have done the assessment and determined that this is not something that I want to invest the energy to repair. And the thing to be mindful of, it's not just one person who can fix anything. If you're in a partnership, if you're in a friendship, both people have to make a mutual decision to do some things differently on a consistent basis to change what the dynamics of the relationship are. So if you are the only one who has decided that this needs to be different, then you may need to extract yourself from this relationship. We are at the end of the first quarter of 2019, right? Don't let 2020 come. As a matter of fact, I would say don't let April, May, June, July, don't let the end of this year come with you saying to yourself, why am I in this situation? Why am I in this non-supportive space? Why am I here? Your destiny is out there and it's awaiting you. But because of the energy that you are expending, trying to uphold a relationship that is killing you softly, it might be passing you by. What is more important to you, right? So, I don't want this video to be too long. So I'm going to start wrapping it up here. But I'm interested in your thoughts. What have been your experiences with toxic relationships, whether it's in the workspace or with a loved one or with a friend? What has been your, how did you decide that it was a toxic relationship? What were the signs that you saw? I'd be interested in learning from you as well. And before we end, as I always say, don't forget kindness and truth. The truth is always right in front of you. Sometimes we just don't want to see. Anyway, be safe out there, everyone. Take care and walk good.